And away we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the one, the only, the Bradley Hall.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to welcome you to today's edition of the Bradley Hall Show. And I am your host, the Bradley Hall. Okay, I want to share something with you that I am really excited about. My new course, The Role of Meditation in Holistic Healing, is available now. In this course, I explore more about the history of meditation as well as the proven healing properties and benefits of meditation. I share with you various medical and scientific studies and experiments that are corroborating what gurus and mystics have known for thousands of years, that meditation is actually an integral part of holistic healing. Plus, for a limited time, I have thrown in 10 free guided meditations at the end of the course. So don't delay. Let's get started on your healing journey now. Go to www.lifeintruthacademy.com to register. The amazing thing is, you mentioned that when you dropped the ball, that your wife would know why.
Yeah.
Which was so instrumental in my healing and healing our marriage. I don't like to quantify trauma, but if we had to quantify trauma, my wife would agree with me. I had way more than she did. Mm-hmm. And her compassion that you were just talking about with your wife, my wife's ability to see beyond the mistakes and to see the sincerity in the apologies and through the discussions, and not stop short at the door and judge my actions, but be able to accommodate everything in, and then believe me when I said, we're moving from here, we're going to do something differently and this and that, was huge. It was just remarkable. That compassion, the key component I want to say is the compassion.
For sure.
I'm good enough at judging myself. I don't need somebody else to help me.
I know.
That only makes the problem worse. It's oppression, and it builds more tension and more pressure that only comes out in ways I don't want it to, which further exacerbates the problem.
For sure.
The compassion was the relief valve. Her compassion allowed the tension to deflate, mm-hmm. and thereby slowing the process down. And it's to have that kind of relationship, and it doesn't matter if you're married, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a partner, if it's a friend, if it's your mother, your father, a sibling. It doesn't matter. If you have a therapist, a coach, trauma recovery coach, the important thing is to have that relationship with someone who does understand and can, going back to the balance we talked about, balance between holding you accountable, but giving you enough compassion to be able to maneuver and do things differently.
The compassion that's the thing. And to be compassionate in one instance is one thing, but to be compassionate extended over a long period of time.
Yeah.
That says something about a human being that I don't even know if I would be able to exercise. The amount of compassion that was necessary to be exercised towards me in my situation.
Agreed.
I don't know if I would,
but I'm not sure.
I like to think I could too, and I would tell myself I could. But then when I look at it on paper, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could have hung in there with me. In the patience and the combination of the patience and the compassion. Wow.
And
that's amazing.
The compassion mm-hmm. inspired me to level up and be greater. Yeah. My wife is my hero because of this right here, and I'll tell people all the time.
Me too.
That compassion that she had for me and giving me the opportunity to prove myself inspired me to be the husband and the father that I wanted to be.
For sure.
Where, like I said, had it been the other way with judgment, constant judgment, not giving me that compassion, it would have been a mess.
It would have been a mess, and we added to the mess that is already
Yeah,
there.
it was already a mess. Yeah,
It was already a mess.
yeah,
I mean, I find myself back that, like, my clients, I think sometimes they expect us, you might have this too, is that we are completely 100% cured and healed, and that will never be the case.
no,
And what's funny, Brad, like you said something like earlier when we were just talking now, how when you first came out on the internet and how you wanted to present yourself as a person who had all this shit together, and
yeah,
man, that is something that I'm putting it out. I still struggle with that. I
yeah.
still struggle with that.
I do too.
Like, how much do you show? How much of your dirty laundry do you air out on the internet before you know?
Yeah,
It's a weird little balance. I don't know. I'm literally asking you, like, I'm asking you for advice.
yeah.
How do you go about doing that, man?
And it's really hard with social media because
Yes,
there's enough negativity on social media
dude.
already. And without a full conversation like this, you just have a meme or a GIF or
That's it.
whatever, a short video without a full explanation. Things can be completely misconstrued very easily.
Absolutely. It's true.
And throw in the fact that I don't like to complain. I don't want to be on there. We all have social media friends that every post is complaining this and that. So
Dude.
it requires a lot more thought and energy to do that than one would think to
It
be
does.
legit. What's the word I want to look for? Keeping it real, whatever.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, like, all right, so on one hand, it sounds like you and I kind of have that same upbringing. Like, listen, you don't complain about anything. You don't whine. You're grateful for what you have, that type of thing. So I can never get on there and start. There's a threshold that I can feel myself reaching when I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get a little I'm starting to sound like a victim, and I don't
Right.
want to do that. Although I was victimized,
Right.
where's that balance now? But then the antithesis of that is I don't want to get on Instagram and make everything so completely shiny and unrealistic also. So I'm kind of feel like I'm caught in that no man's land of like,
Right. Because a trauma survivor can look at if they get that perception
Mhm.
that Paul's whole and shiny and he's got everything together, they feel like I can't ever be like that, and
Right.
it becomes more discouraging.
Exactly. It's more discouraging because I will never live up to that. And, truth be told, I even had a rough morning. Truth be told.
Yeah,
Wake up, like, look at the state of the world, start thinking a little bit about the past, and, have to be very aware and conscious of my own internal landscape. I'm still there. I'm still in that point of my healing process where I have to be very conscious of
yeah,
what's happening inside of myself at every single moment of the day.
that's right.
Yeah.
It'll probably
Yeah.
always be that way.
It'll always be like that.
It does get easier,
Hmm.
but I don't think it'll ever go away.
I don't think so either.
And I was telling Bobby the other day, I had a meltdown about 2 weeks ago on the internet.
Really?
I have a real vigilante streak because of my upbringing, and I just I can't I call it bullying the bully. I can't stand bullies. I just can't stand it. And there was a political argument, and people were trying to be kind, and this person was just being obnoxious. And I finally completely came apart at the seams and just mentally buried this person.
Yeah.
And just I put an end. I put an end to any questions. Everyone else who'd been watching this whole thread undeveloped knew exactly who won the conversation by the time it was over.
Yeah.
It's not who I want to be.
Uh-huh.
Then the shame sets in, right? So I accomplished what I need to accomplish. He's completely embarrassed and everyone knows it. And then I'm like, man, I didn't have to go that. I'm a trauma recovery coach. I'm better than that. I need to. So now you got to balance what am I holding myself accountable, or am I unnecessarily shaming myself because of what happened? Goes through that whole cycle we talked about earlier. And it's been a long time since I've had an episode like that, but it's never going to go away.
But let me ask you, like, because I kind of struggle with this too. Like, listen, that's part of your personality. You admitted that you do have this vigilante streak, and that's
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah.
Like, it's. Do you think it's okay? It's okay if that comes out every now and then, right? I mean, the guy wasn't heard on Facebook. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what I guess what I'm saying is, like, can you have that vigilante streak and still give Brad a break?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a great question. And I think for every person, that's a different answer.
I think so too.
The other side, to me is that had that conversation happened in person, I would have physically hurt him.
You can feel that you could feel inside that you physically could have gone there.
I physically could have gone there. This
Right.
and this is whole facing the dragon thing. It's part of my personality. I'm a very loving, compassionate person. I've coached kids for 30 years. I love what I'm doing here. I work as a mentor for a university. I have that. 98% of me is that. But I also have the capacity. If someone broke into my home and was going to hurt my family, I wouldn't have any problems ending the situation right then and there and answering all the questions I need to answer in
As you
court.
should.
And so I have that switch, that
Sure.
switch. Unfortunately, with I'm not an angry person, but if that switch is flipped, in this case, if we're having that conversation in person, that switch was flipped, I don't trust my ability to not physically hurt that person. So to answer your question, I have to work on that. I have to make sure, and I haven't had an outburst like that for years. I mean, it's not, I want to be clear that it's not a problem anymore. It was a problem.
Sure.
I mean, I can tell you story after story after story when I was younger.
Sure.
But I'm lucky that I didn't hurt someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to work on my de-escalation skills for that reason. I can't be in a situation. I have to walk away from physical situations that I realize may end up in some type of a physical confrontation.
Let me, like, if you said that to yourself at 22, like, hey, Brad, to yourself, let's work on these de-escalation skills. You probably like de-escalations. I got your de-escalation skill.
Yeah.
Come over here. Let me show it to you.
That's right.
Yeah. At least you're improving, man.
Yeah. And that's why my interest in martial arts is the discipline.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And you're into jujitsu, right?
Yeah. And you are too, right?
I was, and I had a really bad injury years ago, man. And so close to man, I competed all over the country. I was doing really well. And but it's funny, man. I said after this pandemic clears up and we can get back, I'm getting right back in. There's a school down the street. I'm getting right back into it because the jujitsu is I can't even, for people who have never rolled, who have never trained in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I can tell that's probably the happiest period of my life when I was training.
Yeah.
There's just something about laying it all out there. And there's something about, like, you get a guy at the gym, at the school, and maybe he doesn't look much. And, maybe when he rolls, he gets tapped easy, but that person never gives in, never gives up. It's like, you can earn a certain respect over at your martial arts school, not because you're good at it, but because of the type of person you are is revealed to the other person and other people in the school. It's like martial arts has a way of doing that, like revealing you to the other people around you.
Yeah.
And to yourself, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as well as, when you first start, when you're a white belt, everybody's kicking your ass. Everybody. I mean, I'm 6'5" and 275 pounds. And my instructor, I don't want to insult him, but I think he's probably like 5'8", maybe like 135 pounds, and he'll kick my ass.
Probably choking you in all different directions, and like, how did my arm end up like,
Yeah, he like climbs all over me. I mean, he's underneath me and around me, and so that ego check.
Hell yeah!
At the beginning of the program for the first year or whatever, that ego check, it just everybody just passing you around and kicking your ass on the mat. You have no choice but to check that ego down because it can't survive. You can't think you're something there that you're not.
You can't.
You have to fall in line.
And that's the thing about jujitsu that's different than other martial arts is that you can go full force pretty much, you know. So you're going to see what you have. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to know what you have.
That's right.
And
There's no hiding,
sometimes
is there?
there's no hiding. And sometimes it's not nearly as much as you thought you did.
That's
You know, really.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
man.
grew up. I just told you, I'm a fighter, and you know, from the
I didn't know that. So I didn't know that. So I didn't realize you were 6'5", 270, man. You look like my height sitting at the thing. So I
okay,
didn't realize you were. So you fought before. You were a
yeah.
fighter.
Well, I mean, I didn't. I'm just a street fighter. Grew up,
Uh-huh.
you know, in a rough area and had a shitty childhood, and I
Fighter.
would
Yeah.
snap, and like I
Fighter.
had a real problem with bullies. I mean, I just didn't fight anybody. I,
Mhm.
I really have a bullying problem. I can't stand. I can't
So
stand.
you'd seek out the bully, and then
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem if someone was harassing someone
uh-huh.
in a grocery store. I wouldn't have a problem getting in the middle of it ever.
Right.
And so I had kind of that confidence and not an arrogance. I don't see myself that way at all. But I thought, you know, when I started jujitsu, I thought it was I was going to bring more to the table than I did, and I learned very
Yeah.
quickly that's not the key.
Man, we'd get
Drinks
some
will run
football.
out fast.
Oh my God, man. You know, when I was training, I'm in New York now, but when I started training, I was in Atlanta, and there was a great Alliance Martial Arts. It was like, you know, top jujitsu schools in the world, and man, we'd have some people coming in. We'd have, you know, football players from Georgia Tech, and you know, kids who went to the University of
Yeah,
Georgia and lived in Atlanta, and then were there for the summer and would come and train. A lot of times, man, they'd come in like, you know, thinking that they were going to just run through the whole school.
yeah,
And then, you know, we get, like you said, 140-pound white belt or blue belt is just tying these people up in knots, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Unbelievable.
my instructor's name's Tony Ruiz, and he's a brown belt
Mhm.
under Hobson Mora.
Oh, Hobson Moore is a bad dude. Yeah.
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 Hobson is
Yeah.
our
He's the real deal.
school, and
Yeah.
it's here in Tampa. It's just about 90
Uh-huh.
minutes north of me. I haven't met Hobson yet. I
Uh-huh.
really look forward to it. But Tony's just amazing, and you know he's told me a strategy. He's like his strategy is to just stay away from me
Mhm.
until I get tired,
That's it.
and then he's going to wrap me up, and he does.
And does every single time.
Yep.
It's foolproof almost, you know? It really is.
When they're telling you what they're going to do to you before
And
you
they're
do
doing it. You know,
it.
they'd say like Hickson. Hickson would get a guy and he'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do 6 moves and we're gonna end up in the corner of the mat and I'm gonna arm bar your right arm. And they'd be like, how? Lo and behold, 6 moves, he's got an arm bar on the guy in
Yeah,
the corner of the mat. Every single time.
yeah.
Different world, man.
It's amazing, and
It is.
like you said, the discipline, the control, because um,
Yeah.
when I'm on the mat with Tony
Mhm.
or any of the other blue belts, any of them. I mean, when I'm on the mat with those guys, I mean, I have to play the game. I can't. My strength's not going to get me out. I'm not going to be able to, you know, and so the discipline to be able to, you can't get angry. So you have to. The anger starts rising up. You're in a lot of trouble. You have to learn to channel that into something productive. You have to think through your moves or your opportunities, and that's the biggest thing that I've gotten out of it. I absolutely love that aspect of
It does put your anger in check. I remember one of the first classes I got, I was rolling with the guy and you know, I didn't know the rules. The guy put me in a triangle. So I lifted him and I slammed him on the ground. Like, you know, that's not I didn't know. And the guy he let his legs go and he said, man, I'm gonna let you do that one time. The next time you do that, you're going to sleep. I was like, okay. I never did it again. Because I believed him.
it. Yeah, yeah. When I first started, it wasn't jujitsu. When I first started with Taekwondo years ago,
Yeah.
and it was Master Parks was the 1969 Korean champion. He was a Korean. He was about 6 foot tall, which is he was a
Yeah.
big man for
Yeah.
Korean. And we were sparring one time, and you know, I was getting good. I felt like I was getting good, and I felt like I was getting somewhere with him. So I got a little more aggressive.
Sure.
He dropped the back of his heel gently on the tip of my forehead in full spar.
Uh-huh.
Full spar, came around, just glanced off my head with his heel, and we just kept sparring. Just enough to let me know who was really in control.
Yeah. Listen, he's like, listen, Brad, I love you, man. You're getting great. Taste that.
He could have killed a gnat on my head. I mean, it was I'm
Wait,
it was,
like a wheel kick of some type? Did he
yeah,
do?
yeah,
Like a wheel
yeah,
kick. Oof.
yeah. Just dropped it right
He
and never
probably knew exactly where he was putting it too. Exactly.
unbelievably
That's
control.
scary.
It was impressive. I was
That's scary.
extremely impressed.
What would be more impressive is seeing a 6'5", 275-pound dude doing taekwondo. That's what I want to see.
I wasn't 275 then, and that's
Oh, but still, man, that's a lot of man doing those spinning kicks.
that's why I got jujitsu. I'd rather just lay on my back.
Dude, yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't have to exert so much. You're talking about discipline, man, and that, like, to bring it back to what we're talking about, you know, discipline and awareness are the two things that are going to take for people to heal through this. And the awareness is number one, because, you know, like you go through a whole period of our life where I wasn't even aware of how screwed up I was.
That's right.
Everyone around me seemed to be the same way. So it's just par for the course, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
until life really throws those things at you.
Yeah.
And then you're forced to kind of look at yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you know, addicts call it the moment of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You have a moment of clarity when your intuition is able to bust through, you know, the mass that you've created, and have that moment where you do become that moment of awareness where you do become. And if you're open to that, and if you allow yourself to be open to that, you can really grow from it, because each level of awareness brings another level of awareness behind it. Every time I realize that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, I begin to realize I still don't know as much as I thought I did. And it becomes a perpetual cycle.
And it's funny, like you say, like, okay, so now I'm aware, but sometimes with the awareness brings a whole new experience. Now you're aware of not only how screwed up you feel, but you're becoming aware of your thoughts. You know, you're starting to be aware of the negative patterns of your thoughts, how those thoughts are synthesizing themselves through your emotions, how those emotions are affecting you physiologically.
Yeah.
So sometimes being aware isn't always the point I'm making is, well, how do you know if you're becoming aware? Sometimes you feel worse.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you feel worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a facing the dragon thing. And the facing the dragon analogy is Carl Jung. You can't, the hero can't get the gold until he slays the dragon that's laying on top of the gold. You have to face your demons. I think that's in our society. We mask everything. Everything has a simple solution, right? I mean, we take pill for this, we do this or that. And it's one of the problems I have with some therapists, and you know, they tend to coddle more than give direction. I don't want to say they tend to. I know some therapists who coddle their patients, and that's preventing them from having awareness. Now, because we have to have the balance, right? I mean, you have to have some coddling, you have to have some compassion, but you have to still have some accountability, and increase that awareness. And increasing the awareness, you have to look in the mirror and see what's there, not what you want to see, not what your ego's telling you to see. You have to face the monster. You have to, if you want to slay the dragon, if you want to defeat the monster, you have to stand toe to toe with it to do that. You're not going to be an assassin and sneak around back, and it just doesn't work that way. You have to run it head on,
because it has eyes in the back of its head.
That's right.
And that monster and that demon is ultimately you. It's ultimately me.
Right. That's right.
You know, so another thing is the dark side. And you say, you know, this society, we do coddle, we do. Another thing we do is we don't give enough credence to our shadow side. Yeah. We don't. Because I realized in my life, Bradley, that I have the capacity to be just like anybody else, probably as evil of a person as you could ever imagine. That's in every single one of us.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge how huge that is, that you were able to acknowledge that, because that's not normal human behavior. I shouldn't use the word normal. That's not standard human behavior, to acknowledge that we're all capable of killing another human being.
We are.
We had to.
and reveling in it if the circumstances are call
Correct.
for that. So, it took a lot of time. When I was just telling myself that I'm a victim and I'm an amazing person. I have an amazing heart and I should go out there and dedicate my life to helping others, and which is all noble things. But a lot of those things made me grip even more. When I realized, like, listen, Paul, you could be a son of a bitch and it's okay. And I look back at some of the things in my life and I'd be like, well, some of the things I've done, and be like, well, that wasn't what a noble person would have done.
Yeah.
Or that's not what an enlightened person would have done. You need to look at these things and say, listen, you are a few steps away from being the monster that did those things to me when I was young.
That's right.
Don't think that you're not, but look at the circumstances and where did I make a choice not to be that? Because that is present in all of us.
That's right.
And then I started to heal because I became more accepting of myself, both sides of myself.
That's right. That's right. The one of the examples of that is Nazi Germany.
Dude, I was going to bring it up. I was going to say that, but you said it for me. Absolutely.
Germans are people. They're like everybody else. They're not inherently evil.
No.
But
so what are we saying? Like, because if we were one of the Nazi youth, that we would say, I'm putting my foot down and I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to, you would more than likely go along with the herd like everybody else.
Exactly right.
Right.
Because your beliefs are being shaped by what you're hearing around you. It's what everybody else is doing. It's what you think is the right thing to do. Or at some level, you're beginning to enjoy it, like you said.
To enjoy it, yeah. Or the consequences to what would happen to you if you didn't. I don't want to put myself and my family in positions of pain. So I'm just going to go along with this.
Yeah, and then through standard deviancy, you make one decision, it changes your trajectory. Mm-hmm. You make another decision, it changes a little further. You make one more decision, it changes a little further. Before you know it, you were headed this way, and now you're over here.
Right.
And that's how you get things like Nazi Germany.
For sure. It's not too far out of the realm for any human being.
No, it isn't. It's not. There are very few people. I'm sure there are people. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are circumstances. There's always an exception, but most people who have been incarcerated for prison, have committed murder, didn't grow up wanting to be a murderer.
Hell no.
That was through the course of decisions and getting that point. And I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that's that facing the monster thing is so critical. One of the theories about PTSD, and I happen to buy into this, is that we take these young boys and we celebrate them all through school, right? I mean, they're athletes and they're students and they're mama's boys, and they go see their grandmother, and they're good to their siblings, and they're active in their communities, and they're just good all-American boys, right? And then you put them through 8 to 12 weeks, and you put a rifle in your hand, and you tell them to go out and blow the heads off of other human beings. And their actions in war can't reconcile with the image that they've created, and sure, their parents and everyone else has sculpted this for them, but they can't reconcile the two. They think, I'm a good all-American boy. My grandmother loves me. How could I have done something like that to another human being? So this is the answer right here. If you tell them, hey, everybody's capable, and different circumstances, right? My wife and I just had this conversation the other day, and I was explaining this to her, and she agreed with me. She was like, yeah, if someone broke in the house and I wasn't available, and she had to kill someone to protect her family, she could do it.
Absolutely.
And most people would probably say, well, I couldn't, or I'd cry or whatever. But push comes to shove,
you're going. You are. And for some people, it's not even as something as serious as your life being in danger. Some people will push that button way before that even happens.
That's right.
And it's so what you're saying about Germany, and like yeah, you're saying about PTSD. So it's not just the fact of everything that they witness and experience that gives them the post-traumatic stress disorder. It's also dealing with the newfound reality of that I am not this person that I thought I was exclusively. I have a real
That's right.
monster inside me. And that's what is traumatizing to the person
That's
more
right.
than anything,
That's right.
you know?
Yeah.
That's why I would always like watch people who are like criminals or drug dealers or killers or whatever. And, you go out and so they look like they're having a great time, and then, enjoying life. And then, I'm over here being extremely conscientious and I seem to be laboring through life, sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like, how does a bad guy deal with being a bad guy? Does he just accept it? Like, does John Gotti just say, "Yeah, I'm a mother, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm okay with it, and I can sleep at night, and I'm okay," and you know,
Yeah.
it's so far from what goes on in my mind, but yeah, it's
Yeah. And
interesting to
I
look at.
think it's important, to say to the people listening that
Mhm.
it's not that we condone
No,
that type of behavior.
no,
It's a realization that all human beings are capable.
for
And
sure,
so when you do something destructive or do something to hurt someone else, you still need to work through and change your modify behavior.
for sure.
But it's the compassion side of it, the understanding that, hey, we're all capable. We're all, and I say all the time, a lot of people talk about people being broken, and I know that trauma recovery coaches don't like the word broken, but I use it in the context that we're all broken.
Hmm.
But if we're all broken, then we're all normal.
Right,
That's where the compassion comes in. So it it works with this. I mean, we're all capable of doing vile things, and
sure.
when you can admit, when you can begin to readily see that, then you really begin to understand who you really are.
Mhm.
And until you understand who you really are, you can't become who you want to become.
Ever. And that's what's interesting about living in New York City, because you get on the train and you're surrounded by people all day long. And sometimes, man, I'm on the train and I'm looking at people and I'm like, I have to catch myself, like, guys standing too close to me, and like, why am I thinking these types of thoughts for a guy who's standing
Yeah,
next to me in a crowded train? Like, why am I like want to strangle this person? Like,
yeah,
I have to be constantly aware of what's
that's right.
going on inside my mind, and then sit back and say, well, why am I like this?
Yeah,
And is it okay if I'm like this?
yeah,
And who's to say, who's the barometer to say it's okay? So it's constant reevaluation of your
yeah,
thoughts and your feelings
yeah,
to get over trauma. Because I know, like, I have that inside me, and it's a result of what happened to me. It's not necessarily just my complete nature.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I think it's a combination of what happened to us.
Sure.
But I do think it also is a result of nature as well.
I think so.
You know, you don't have to go back far. I mean, not that there's not violence in our current society, but you don't have to go back far where violence was just rampant, and that's just
Sure.
what people did was,
Hmm.
and that's like the gang theory. That's why people form in clusters and groups, because we evolved into we had to cluster with people like ourselves,
Sure.
prevent other clusters of people coming and killing all of us.
Right. Plain
And
and simple.
yeah, that's human development. That's it's where we come from. And I don't know why we don't teach kids, and especially young men. And it goes along with trying to take a 10-year-old boy and put him in a chair for 8 hours.
Hmm.
And then when he can't do it, tell him something's wrong with him.
Right. Right.
Different conversation for a different way, but it's very, very, very connected to what we're talking
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
It's that ideology of teaching him something he's not.
Hmm.
10-year-old shouldn't be in a chair for 8 hours all day,
No.
every day. It just shouldn't happen, but we do it anyway.
Sure.
And I think if we allow these kids to not do what they want, but to learn about themselves
Hmm.
and how to handle themselves and what they're capable of, and you teach them to fight. I don't know why we're not teaching young men jujitsu at a very, very, very young age.
I think it
Um,
should be part of the curriculum.
I mean, it burns their energy,
Mhm.
it strengthens their body, it strengthens their mind, increases their discipline, their awareness,
Sure.
their critical thought process. Um, and you know as well as I do, when I trained in martial arts, the better I got at fighting on the mat, the less I fought outside of the mat.
Absolutely. That's universal with everybody. Everybody will say the same thing.
Yeah,
The more I train jujitsu, the less I feel as if the less aggressive I feel in life, and
this fear.
definitely, yeah,
And when you have the confidence that you can handle yourself, you have less fear.
for sure, plain and simple. And it's just an energy, you drain your energy too, so that
Yeah,
also kind of does something for you. But
yeah,
for
you,
sure, we need to teach kids is emotional intelligence. We need to start, I'm saying we need to, but man, what I see is a lot of adults who are emotionally stunted,
yeah.
because there's no credence and there's no value put on
Generational
somebody.
level.
Yeah, for sure. I know my parents generated the baby boomers, and before that, God, if you were ever going to squeeze a single word of truth in regards to how they feel, it's like impossible for those old timers to talk about how they feel, you
Yeah,
know. And that's the one thing that's keeping us completely paralyzed from
I
moving
agree.
forward. You know,
I agree.
so I see it. But
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah. So my wife and I had this conversation. My heritage is like 80% Viking. Um, I've got the DNA test done, and so we watched the series Vikings, and I took extra interest in it. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I pointed out to her is that the Society of the Vikings. And did you watch the series
I
Vikings? I
didn't.
mean,
No,
I
no.
usually don't watch TV, but
I heard it was real. I heard it was amazing.
it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. One of the glaring, the most obvious points I saw about the difference between the Vikings and the Anglo Saxons, or the Christendom in England, um, was that the Vikings weren't afraid to be who they were. They were they just all accepted each other's flaws for whatever they were, and you see a lot of them, betraying each other, or making their decisions, and everyone just kind of rolling with the punches. And and on the other side, you have everyone pretending to be something. You have the nobility, and they're all pretending
Right.
to be something else, and then they're making all these secret backdoor deals, and
Right.
and doing all these things. And it really got me to think about why that is. And I don't really have an answer of why that is, but I think there's something healthy about it.
Like
Um,
they accept, like they knew, like they accepted somewhere in their culture that, hey,
People are people,
people are people, the good, the bad, and all of that.
and
That's interesting.
your problems are yours to figure out and fix. So
Is
I hope
that is that kind of how they
that's what it seems
operated?
to be. Now it is a TV show,
Uh,
and it's influenced by writers who
sure,
grew up in the '80s and '90s just like the rest of us, and
sure.
I get that. I don't know how historically accurate that is, but I'm intrigued enough that I'm going to find out.
That's interesting though, man.
Yeah,
Because it seems like that's the way to a happy life,
it is. Yeah.
accepting it.
When you quit worrying about what everybody else thinks.
That's
We
number
haven't, we
one.
haven't touched on that yet.
God, man, that's honestly, man, that's a lifetime. That's a lifetime of deprogramming right there.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God. And then we care about, not only we care about what people think about us, but we care about what certain people think about us who, why would we give those particular people any power over it? Like, you're a wretch. Why do I care?
That's right.
It's so deeply ingrained in us though, man.
It is. It
I
is.
wonder what that is.
And I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's like because we need to be accepted in order to move forward in the world. So we're always feel as if we're doing a tap dance for other people. That have
Yeah.
something to do with it, but it's multi-layered, I'm sure,
I mean, we all want to be loved, and we all want to be
for
accepted.
sure.
And I think that's a big part of it. But society perpetuates that.
It does.
We everyone's putting on their shiny mask every morning, and going out.
Bro, I
And
can't do it anymore, man. I'm having a real
no,
problem with the shiny mask lately, and I think
yeah,
that's okay.
it's liberating when you don't. It goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, telling your story. So there's two types of people who don't care what people think.
Mhm.
The first type is the people who are pissed off and say, I don't give a shit what you think.
Right.
No, yes, you
You
do.
do. You
You're
do.
just trying to convince me
Yourself.
and yourself that you
Yeah.
don't. Then there are the people that are like, I don't care what you think.
Genuinely don't care.
Genuine.
Yeah.
And that's where the liberation lies. When you know who you are enough, you've done enough that you figured out, you've connected with the shadow side. You
Mhm.
start to realize everyone has a shadow side. Everybody has their flaws. Everybody's playing a game. Everybody's hiding. You realize how much energy you expend trying to convince everyone else. And you realize that it's okay to just be who you are. And if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. And that point was a monumental shift in my life.
I got to tell you, man, I think with what's going on now with the virus and everything, I think, when the changes that are going to come in society, I think people are going to be really looking towards a really stripped down. People aren't going to want to put up with all these bells and whistles. I think there are going to be some people who need some real help,
Yeah.
who need some real coaching and some real therapy, and are looking to cut through all of that. So what I'm saying is maybe there's a place for guys like you and I, who are just seem to be meat and potatoes people, not a lot of flash, but we're going to be very useful in this time coming up. I truly feel that deep inside.
Yeah.
You know?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I told some family members yesterday, we need to reopen. That's a
We
different
have to, bro.
but I don't want to go back to the way we were.
Mhm.
People are healing. People are decompressing. They don't have any choice.
Right.
Whereas before they wouldn't have had that break. And the earth is healing. The air is cleaner. The water's cleaner. I live in Florida. We've had problems with the water the last couple of years. The water's clean. And I said yesterday, I was like, man, it's too bad we just can't turn the switch off every February 1st and not do anything for a month. Let everybody decompress to the point where they get crazy and they have to go back outside, and then turn everything back on and let us go back. That kind of sabbatical would be amazing. Not that it's ever going to happen,
But in theory, I see it. I see how that works. And then, we get some time, and then listen, we come back with a newfound appreciation for each other.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's what I think this has done for me on a positive note, was that I am appreciating just the little occurrences that I may have every day with people out here. And I'm missing it. I'm telling myself, when I go back out there, not that I was before, but I'm really going to make sure that I'm giving myself from here with people,
Yeah.
Really.
I saw my dad and his wife yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I hadn't seen them in several weeks. They're going back up north. They spend the winters down here, and we couldn't hug each other.
Right.
The hugs that I'd taken for granted, that we'd all taken for granted, we're all standing around now aware. Our awareness level has gone sky high because we can't hug each other.
And it hurts.
And now I'm looking forward to when they come back down here in 6 months when I can hug them again. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about.
And it hurts not to be able to do that to another human being.
That's
physically, literally hurts us and destroys us.
That's right.
So whatever people's theories are about this pandemic and, conspiracy or whatever your level, whatever it is, something has been done to cut off the lifeline between human beings.
Yeah.
And we're feeling it, man, especially in this city, man, where we're on top of each other every day. People are starting to be like, I don't know how to operate now,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
I just hope we don't
Crazy
just
times.
go right back to the way things
I
were.
hope we don't either, Brad. Like, that would be a disappointment, man.
Yeah.
That we didn't learn shit. We
We're
didn't
working too
learn
much,
anything.
we're filling our schedules too heavy. All those kids games that you took your kids to, and just coming home from work and throwing them in the car and not being gone and coming back. You realize when you don't do it anymore, you realize that it wasn't as necessary as you thought it was.
Right. And like, then it makes you question, like, well, if that's not necessary, what else isn't necessary?
That's right.
And then you realize, oh man, nothing, very little is necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's one of the things I say to not all my clients. Some aren't to this level, but one of the things we always ultimately get to is you're not that important, because if you died today, somebody's coming to sort your shit out tomorrow, and somebody's taking your job, and everybody's going to be sad for a few days, and then everybody's going to go back to work, and they're going to go back to their baseball games, they're going back to watching football, and
That's reality.
I mean, the world is not going to stop turning. We're just not as important. We take ourselves way too seriously.
We do. It's like we think like the point of the universe is just like right on us. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
it's, it feels like that sometimes. It
Yeah.
certainly does,
Yeah.
but it's not true.
No. And when you step back and look, so a quick story about this. I grew up in Indianapolis, and I actually grew up in Speedway. And Speedway is a small town inside Indianapolis where they hold the Indianapolis 500.
Right.
Okay. So I graduated from Speedway High School. I was a firefighter in Speedway. And I went to the Indianapolis 500 race every year from the age of 14 to, I think, probably 34, 35. So 20, 21 years, except for 1 year that I was in boot camp in the Navy. Okay. And when I was a firefighter, we got free tickets, and we lived in Speedway. And, everybody, 300,000 to 500,000 people come into this small town, and they park in the yards, and they party all weekend, and everybody goes to the race. I mean, it's a monumental event that I can't explain adequately. And we got free tickets because I was a firefighter. And 1 year I said to my wife, I said, what if we don't go this year? Of course, it was like, what? What? But this is what we do. We we live in Speedway. We all go to the race. And I said, what if we don't go this year? So we gave away our tickets, I think probably to our kids, and we just sat on the course all weekend, just people watch, just watching people. It was an amazing, amazing weekend. My point is we had just gotten so caught up in this is what we do that we couldn't think of any other options. And when we thought about not going, because we were so in the routine of going, when we thought about not going, it was terrifying.
Think about not going. Yes,
yeah. Terrifying. Well, right. What if we don't see our friends? What if there's an accident? We don't get to see the accident. What if something cool really happens? What if the driver we like wins? And it was amazing, and we didn't realize it until we didn't do it again. And the application to this, we're all getting a chance to see that you can go without a lot of that stuff.
Man,
your life can be simpler and happier.
And hopefully, now I don't know. I want to be optimistic about it, but I can feel a little bit of a shift in people when I do interact with them. Like some people in my building when I see them in the lobby and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my question is how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
Until it's business as usual and people just get back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
But I really hope it does, Brad.
I do too.
We can't keep going like how we've been going.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully, if maybe this conversation reaches some listeners and gets people to think about that, and intentionally living by design and not going back. Yeah. Filtering some things out and just taking some time for yourself.
Yeah, and be aware that, man, we're driving this train towards a brick freaking wall.
Yeah.
And maybe, hey, listen, maybe this needed to happen to put a little perspective on what we're all doing here for God's sake,
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Spend that time and energy on ourselves.
Yeah, man.
Take care of ourselves.
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Oh. Well,
how long do we go, Brad?
About 90 minutes.
That didn't feel like it. That's a good
I know. It just.
That's a good.
I usually cut everybody off at an hour, but
get out of here.
This was so good. I didn't want to. Yeah.
I like to hear that. Well, I'll even put this out there while we're recording. I'm going to invite you on my podcast.
Okay.
So if you want to come on next week, man, I'd love to have you.
I'd love to be there.
Yeah, man, because we can continue this.
Yeah. For sure. And
thank you for reaching out to me, Brad. Like it was really amazing that you did that. Makes me feel, a little boost to the ego. I'm not gonna lie. It does something for the ego,
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this a little bit. I want the listeners to know we don't know each other very well.
Right. No, we just know vicariously through the program, Bobby's the coaching program, but just kind of going back and forth via messenger
but some things have clicked. I mean, I kind of felt that right at the beginning. And I knew just through intuition, I knew this would be a good conversation and didn't disappoint. And I'd like to have more of these outside with the camera off. Yeah, I think
let's do it, man. Yeah. I mean, listen, I need to I need like-minded people in my life, man. And I could tell just by, I could look in your eyes and tell, and I know who you are.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know? Yeah, I know. So I'm open, Bradley. Just, I'm here, and I'll reach out to you this weekend about, getting on my thing next week, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for sure. So, Paul, I want to give you a chance to plug yourself.
Oh, to plug myself. Yeah, I got to do all that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you can find me at CoachPaulChristino.com. So Coach Paul, and then Christino is with the H, Chrisistino. On Twitter, it's Paul Christino. On Instagram, it's Coach Paul Christino. I have the corniest. My social media game is corny, but I promise I'm going to step that up. But that's where you can find me. And oh yeah, there's a Facebook group, the Trauma Recovery. What is it?
Collective.
Trauma Recovery Healing Collective. Yeah, that's the Facebook group I'm on, and you can find me, and I'm always there for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Bradley.
So yeah, man, I appreciate you coming.
I appreciate you too, brother. Let me know when this comes out. I'd love to watch us.
Okay. Yeah, I will do, and I'll be in touch.
Yes, sir.
Together next week.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
I'll talk to you then. Have a good one.
Hail, you crazy cats and cool kittens.